Tonight, the family of a little girl struck and killed by a GO train in Mississauga launches a public safety campaign.
She's someone that is so fond of butterfly. The same butterfly was what she chased to the train track.
The family launching the Butterfly Project in hopes of helping other families who have faced similar tragedies and to call for greater measures to keep kids safe when they're playing outside. Plus,
we need to get on board and start moving forward and stop the whining and complaining that I hear day in and day out.
Premier Doug Ford defending his plan to give enhanced powers to mayors and calling out those not willing to play ball as the bill moves closer to becoming law. And
being the minority on the ice in those days meant putting up with whatever racial taunts or prejudice came your way.
5 trailblazers of the NHL who broke down racial barriers in the face of immense adversity are honored by the Canadian government at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. The family of a young girl struck and killed by a GO train in Mississauga have started a public safety campaign. Now, in July, 4-year-old Michelle Nwabuoku was tragically killed after wandering onto the train tracks. The family is starting the Butterfly Project to call for greater safety measures to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. As Tyler Cheese tells us, the foundation will launch with a concert this weekend on what would have been Michelle's 5th birthday.
Months after the devastating accident that took young Michelle Nwabuoku's life, her family is still deep in mourning.
She's the last girl of the family, but she's more like an angel. She talks like an adult. She's loving. She's peaceful.
On July 26, the 4-year-old girl was struck and killed by a GO train in Mississauga. It's believed that she followed a gap in a fence that led her to the train tracks. She was chasing a butterfly at the time.
She's someone that is so fond of butterfly. Even in her room, she has butterfly used, and she used, her room is designed with butterfly.
To honor her love of butterflies, her family has started the Butterfly Project. Through this foundation, they want to help other families who have faced similar tragedies. They're calling for steps to be taken to better protect children from playing in dangerous areas.
There's all kinds of different levels of government involved, possibly municipal, provincial, and federal. What you really need is everybody at the table talking about what the problems are and what potential solutions are.
In Ontario, it's the legal responsibility of property owners to keep it reasonably safe for anyone who might use it.
Even trespassers, even people who aren't supposed to be there, by law, if it's your property, you have to keep it safe for them.
The Nwabuoku family wants more people to know that. The project also aiming to educate parents and children on how to play safely and recognize areas that may not be safe. In the meantime, they're looking forward to a celebration for Michelle this Saturday on what would have been her 5th birthday.
I thought it's well to make sure I give her a befitting posthumous birthday. She's been longing for her 50th birthday, an elaborate birthday.
R&B singer Julie Black will headline a variety show hosted by the Butterfly Project at North York's Rima Conference Centre. Michelle's father recalls the huge outpouring his family received in the aftermath of the tragedy and is welcoming everyone who sent love for Michelle to come out.
Man, I tell you, people showed love. People showed love. And like now is the time that I will call them out to celebrate with us.
Tickets can be purchased on the Butterfly Project website. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Peel police say the suspect in the murder of a gas station employee over the weekend was roaming around in the area for hours before the shooting.
During this time frame, they were observed both on foot and riding a bicycle. The suspect may or may not have visited this location in the past. At one point, they were seen on foot near Britannia Road east of the intersection and crossing Credit View Road north of the intersection.
In a newly released video, police described the suspect as wearing a dark jacket with a hood, dark winter boots, and dark pants with white gloves. Police have found and seized the bicycle the suspect was riding, a purple bike that they say may have been stolen. Now, the victim, Pawan Precour, a 21-year-old woman, was shot at close range just before 11 p.m. Saturday night. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Meanwhile, late tonight in Mississauga, Peel police say a man has been killed following a shooting. It happened in a parking lot just after 9:30 p.m. at Royal Windsor Drive and South Down Road near the Mississauga-Oakville border. No suspect information has been released. Well, Toronto police say a man has been arrested after one person was killed in a quadruple shooting last month. On November 15th, police responded to a report of a shooting on Dunn Avenue in the Parkdale neighborhood. Officers located a 23-year-old man in an apartment suffering from gunshot wounds. Now, paramedics tried to revive him, but the man was pronounced dead at the scene. He has been identified as Abel Geim. 3 other victims arrived at the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. A 27-year-old O'Shane Mitchell has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. He made his first court appearance earlier today. Some Toronto City councillors are banding together tonight, saying a provincial bill expected to pass tomorrow is undemocratic. They're pleading with Premier Doug Ford not to grant strong mayor powers to Toronto. But the Premier is defending the plan. And as Lorenda Redicott reports, Ford had some sharp words for those who don't like it.
Josh Matlow is one of the Toronto City councillors who wrote to the Premier.
It's not a matter of a strong mayor tool or not. This is a matter of, are we going to retain the basic tenets of democracy at Toronto City Council or not?
15 different councillors signed this letter to the Premier and the Housing Minister, a last-ditch attempt urging them to reconsider Bill 39.
It's too soon for the government to be ramming this Bill 39 down the throats of the people of Toronto.
So our first item is the
It would allow the Mayor of Toronto to pass a bylaw with less than a majority, 1/3 support, if the bylaw advances a provincial priority. The province says this is about ensuring housing gets built.
Having a councillor that scrapes in with 3,000 votes and has the same voting power as the mayor, that's what's trampling on democracy.
Premier Ford also criticized Mississauga's mayor.
I know we have a few mayors that, don't want to play in the sandbox, and one being Mayor Crombie, and I don't know what her issue is.
Crombie has said her city will suffer under the province's housing bill that cuts the fees developers pay to municipalities.
Get on board and start moving forward and stop the whining and complaining.
Mayor Crombie responded in a statement that she's not whining, but standing up for residents, that the province needs to consult with cities before adding legislation, and that her city is building housing. The Premier's comments brought on reaction from the opposition parties at Queen's Park.
If you want to work with cities in this province, if you actually want to deal with the big problems we have around housing, that you should be trying to work with people, not insulting them.
Mayor John Tory says even once Bill 39 passes, he'll continue to work collaboratively with council, and that a city staff report is coming out next week looking at the impact of these 2 provincial bills that boost his power. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
As expected, the Bank of Canada has bumped up its trend-setting interest rate. The half-point jump puts the rate at 4.25%. Now, this is the 7th increase this year, but the central bank is hinting it could be ready to take a break from the hikes. In today's announcement, the bank said it will now be considering whether rates will need to rise further. Now, that suggests it'll be looking at economic data to see how well the increases so far are reducing inflation. The bank also says there is growing evidence that the rate increases are working. Both the housing market and consumer demand for goods and services are cooling. Well, if you're thinking of heading to the gas pumps, you may want to hold off until Friday. Gas prices are set to fall to a new low for the year.
Always keep in mind that back on June the 8th, gas prices were selling for $2.15.9. That's an 80-cent savings from where we might otherwise have been. For average drivers using 40 liters a week, that's a savings of $32 a week, $128 if it continues, as I believe it will, for a month. That's quite the Christmas gift.
Prices will drop 2 cents overnight to $1.38 a litre across most of southern Ontario. Well, that's the lowest we've seen since last December. McTague says the trend of decreasing gas prices is in correlation to the falling price of oil. Let's go to Colette Kennedy now with a first check on your forecast. And Colette, another mild one today. Nice to put away that winter jacket for the last few days.
Yeah, just some nice mild temperatures. I mean, a lot of cloud cover, but still, there was something to enjoy about the temperatures the last few days, but especially today when you look at those daytime highs, because tomorrow they're kind of, essentially the highs will be cut in half from what you're seeing here, and in some cases even a little bit cooler than that. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. And what we're also looking at is we've had one bit of colder air that's pushing through as those winds turn towards the northwest, but there'll be some colder air behind that as well. So tomorrow we just sort of transition. We should also see at times some sunshine. Skies will be a little variable, so a bit of cloud cover comes in and then backs out again, but at least there'll be more than there has been for the last 2 days. And then it cools down further once we get into Friday. But I'm going to talk more about that, and we'll take a look at what's happening for the weekend too. Coming up tonight, -1, and there it is tomorrow, a high of 4 degrees, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. Efforts to turn Little Jamaica into the city's first cultural district kicked off today. Public consultations are being held to discuss how to best preserve and celebrate the vibrant community. Ali Chasson has more on what this means for the neighborhood and its residents.
You know Little Jamaica for its restaurants, its people, and Reggae Lane. You also probably know it for the Crosstown LRT and the construction's impact on so many beloved businesses. But there's a new plan bolstered by the city to help the neighborhood bounce back by designating it a cultural district. What that means and what that looks like, the community will help decide.
My father, Eglinton, owned a business in Little Jamaica for 37 years called Eglinton Carpets, so this is home to me.
Today, public consultations began on the cultural district plan, and residents took notes and gave notes on what they want for the neighborhood.
I feel that it's important that Little Jamaica be about resources, infrastructure, money, and land for the community. I support the initiative that the City of Toronto is engaging the community in, but it has to be more than programs and services.
People want more than murals, and they want to have a say.
My experience growing up in Eglinton since 1979 is always corporate Toronto telling us what to do, how to do it. What is the City of Toronto bringing to the table for the upliftment of the people?
I kind of want to get more involved with things in the community and understand what's going on and how I can have more of a voice.
It's about making it more livable.
On Eglinton and Oakland over there, for example, there's a condo there in our community. Nobody can afford to live there. I want to see more affordable housing, more people like myself who have businesses so that, again, we won't be kicked out of our neighborhood and eventually have to live somewhere else.
I like to think of the cultural district plan as the community's comeback story.
Jay Pitter is the urban planner and visionary for the initiative. She says the residents will be the authors of the neighborhood's own comeback story.
In a collective way, so that we can really create a place where everyone belongs.
Public consultations will continue through the end of the year. In early 2023, a plan will be announced with investments and renderings for the revitalized Little Jamaica. Ali Chasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. A Toronto mother has filed a discrimination complaint against the Toronto District School Board as she claims the board failed to accommodate her son who has type 1 diabetes. The 4-year-old requires constant supervision to ensure he has enough insulin, something she says the board hasn't been able to provide. Patrick Swadden has their story.
Leo loves going to school. He's in junior kindergarten at Three Valleys Public School. But last fall, the 4-year-old was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. His blood sugar needs constant supervision.
You could potentially have severe brain injury, loss of consciousness, seizure, and the consequences, if his blood sugar is not recognized and treated appropriately, are potentially fatal.
She says the staff at Leo's school are extraordinary, but there are stretches of the day where there's only one teacher for 27 kids.
We can't expect that the teacher can provide a full education to those kids and be somebody's pancreas, fully take care of Leo.
On multiple occasions, Sarah and her husband have had to come to the school to make sure Leo gets insulin. They want an educational or special needs assistant in class at all times, something she says the Toronto District School Board won't provide. The TDSB said in a statement to CBC News, school administration and the superintendent had consulted with the TDSB's occupational health and safety officials. A full care plan was developed involving many staff members. The government officially recognizes diabetes as a disability, and Sarah says without full accommodation for Leo, this amounts to discrimination, leaving her no choice but to file a complaint with the TDSB's Human Rights Office.
I am not understanding how you can have a doctor's note from Canada's Best Children's Hospital that says this is the medical accommodation he needs and ignore that.
Canadian Olympic rower Chris Jarvis founded I Challenge Diabetes to advocate for those with the condition.
So even myself as an adult living with type 1 diabetes, there are times where my blood sugars are going off without my awareness. And so to have somebody responsible at the school is a critical part for his safety at school and for him to be able to learn properly as well.
As of now, Sarah says the board has only provided additional supervision on a temporary basis.
I think the school board is waiting for me to get tired. I am tired, but I'm not going to stop until they can tell me that my son is safe in school.
Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
A police officer who was killed this fall by a suspected drunk driver while on his way to work is being honored tonight by peers from a mixed martial arts class. York Regional Police Constable Travis Gillespie being given an honorary black belt.
I have never been in a place like this before, but I could feel the energy in here, and I knew that this is exactly Travis, like all this high energy, and I feel him in here tonight with us.
This here, Primal, this is home for him. He loved this place.
The black belt was given to Gillespie's mom. Before becoming a police officer, he volunteered with Primal Mixed Martial Arts Academy. He began with York Police 2 years ago. A grant is being created in his name to put young people through martial arts training called the Travis Spirit Award. And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, partly cloudy this evening, remaining that way overnight. Temperatures a repeat of the last couple of nights, currently 7 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Colette now. And Colette, temperature-wise, not feeling like December at all. That will be changing, though.
Well, Kelda, we are seeing changes in terms of what's happening with our temperature, our sky conditions too. The thing is, with the cooling temperature, we get a chance to sort of be worked into this, right? It's a bit gradual. So temperatures come down, more seasonal on Thursday, but we get some sun coming back at us too, at times at least through the day. And then the next shot of cooler air kind of comes in Friday and into the weekend. So that's how we kind of take it by step, getting there. There's a chance for some flurries because of some breezy conditions on Friday and into Saturday too, but more so when we actually have a system moving through Sunday, when we could get a little bit of light rain mixing with some light wet flurries or light wet snow. So let's take it in terms of what's happening tonight after some drizzle earlier and still a bit of fog. We are seeing some of that cloud cover kind of trying to erode and break up, and that's why the sun will be coming through. It'll be a brighter day for you on Thursday. And then as another system approaches, as we're going into Friday, it's really going to be moving more to the south of the GTA, but it will kind of track just tagging through southwestern Ontario. It will have an impact with some windy conditions, those winds picking up from the east around the Golden Horseshoe, and you can see some of that wet flurry activity down along the north shore of Lake Erie coming through as well, but we could see a few flurries into Toronto. That potential is there. So tonight, the readings dropping down. You know, we've had a couple of very mild nights, so it makes it easy to get going in the morning because the temperatures are already up and then continuing to climb, like up to 8 degrees today into Toronto. But tonight, where we have some clearing out, we're going to see that temperature dropping. These may be a little bit on the cool side. We might not get quite there, but don't worry, it's coming as we move into Friday night. So a look at what's going on with those temps. 4 tomorrow, then 2 on Friday and Saturday with that chance of flurries. And by the way, even though the temperature's not that cool, it's still above freezing. Because of those winds, it is going to feel cooler. And then into Sunday, that's the day to watch out for, to see the timing with this next and the track of this next system coming in. Calda.
Thanks so much. Finally tonight, 5 hockey players who broke racial barriers were honored today by the Canadian government. All 5 of them made it to the NHL, the pinnacle of hockey, despite facing discrimination and prejudice. Greg Ross has their stories.
Canada's Historic Sites and Monuments Board unveiled this plaque today.
This designation honors the achievements of 5 hockey players, legends: Paul Jacobs, Henry Elmer Miracle, Larry Kwong, Fred Saskamoose, and Willie O'Ree.
They are all hockey players who overcame incredible odds.
We played the Montreal Canadiens in Boston, and I scored my first National League goal.
Willie O'Ree was the first black player in the NHL, breaking through with the Boston Bruins in 1957. Today, his daughter read a statement from him.
I am honored and humbled to be recognized by the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada. Thank you for highlighting the accomplishments of the amazing people there today.
Paul Jacobs is believed to be the first Indigenous player in the NHL, officially listed as playing 1 game for the Toronto Arenas in the 1918-1919 season. Henry Elmer Miracle and Fred Saskamoose would later follow in his footsteps.
Being the minority on the ice in those days meant putting up with whatever racial taunts or prejudice came your way. Stories in print about Elmer at the time he played were full of loaded language describing his fierceness on the ice and warning the home team of what he might do to them.
Larry Kwong faced many similar issues during his career as the first Chinese Canadian in the NHL. Kwong played 1 game with the New York Rangers in the 1947-48 season.
I bet you most people couldn't tell you what Larry Kwong's accomplishment was. And it wasn't just in the NHL. He was involved in hockey in Europe. He was the first Chinese coach in the world, and he helped grow the sport.
They are all players who helped open the door to cultural diversity, not just in the NHL, but in sport.
It meant a lot for myself as an individual who can stand upon the shoulders of these men and what they've been able to accomplish, to see that recognition happen today.
Mark Fraser played 6 seasons in the NHL, including parts of 4 seasons in Toronto. He's now the Leafs manager of culture and inclusion.
More needs to change in hockey. It starts with the NHL and as the leader, obviously, and as the elite league here in North America, but all the way down to grassroots level.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.